Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. Good morning. It is a bright and sunny day here in Georgia. You see the sun is coming in my window. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is the first Saturday in May. It's the first Saturday in May. Oh my gosh, we are moving into this year. Things are moving fast. Things are moving fast. I am only live this morning, y'all, on YouTube. YouTube and YouTube only. I will be sharing this broadcast in many other spaces from YouTube, but I'm only going live moving forward in YouTube and some other selective spaces. We're real clear that the silencing of Black voices, the message of reparations is on attack. And I'm going to bring my friend, my family, my girl, Miss Angela Nirvana to join me this morning. Good morning, Miss Angela.
Good morning, Congresswoman Tamara Johnson Shealy.
Thank you. We just trust in God, Angela. We just trust in
That's
God
it.
and moving in
I'm
the
speaking
spirit.
it into existence. We need you more than ever now. We
Oh
need
my
you more
God.
than ever. It's
Angela.
just been abysmal. It's been abysmal. I am mortified. Silencing of Black voices absolutely is what's happening. I don't know if your followers know that I've been disabled completely without rhyme or reason from Facebook. Without rhyme or reason. They claim I violate. Hi, Chris. They
Good
claim
morning,
I
Chris. Welcome.
the gang's all here. The founders of the movement. Okay. Let me be clear. I'm not gonna try to be messy because I know Chris is real cool like that. He don't get into no mess. But you know, I'm wired differently. These are the founders. Some of them. I had a few of them. Of the movement, of what I now call reparationist movement. Chris knows he's definitely one of the founding members. Definitely. He put me in touch with the people here in LA so I could help to found ADOS SoCal. So he ain't gonna be the type that's gonna brag about that because he's just Rico Suave like that, okay? But I'm gonna run
He
tell it
found me
on the
too,
mountain.
Angela. He found me too. Like he found me in beauty and some beauty and barber spaces on social media. So he found me.
See? Okay, so let's be real clear who founded the movement. Okay, I know y'all. There's a bunch of newcomers to Yvette's show. Y'all just got here. You're not in a position to say a word. And the beauty of Chris was that he was willing to give the movement to the inspiration. Let me just be clear. He was willing to give it to them, and they kicked him out and said, "We don't want you to give us the movement. We just want you gone." So, anywho, back to the topic at hand. Racebook disabled me for doing what I do, telling the truth. And I want you guys to know that this is happening to a lot of ADOS. And I'm gonna give you guys a few tips, to try to protect your pages. First of all, I made the great mistake of making my personal page public, trying to grow the movement, which happened. I got about 2,500 people to like and follow me on Angela Nirvana, and then I was trying to grow the Reparationist Perspective show from there, and the ADOS SoCal, and the movement at large, and the Equity Advocates PAC. And I got 2,500 people, and they came from my jugular. Why? I started focusing on anti-Black racism since Biden wants to weaponize what happened to Mr. Floyd, the execution of Mr. Floyd, to give Asians protections and $80.5 million. So I said, well, since the mainstream media wants to not focus on the fact that 181 people since George Floyd, Black people, have been executed by the race soldiers, then I have to come up with a broadcast that addresses that. It was following the Chauvin trial. And so the complaints got more and more relentless. Then I started an ADOS, ADOS, as the world of ADOS turns. C stands for chattel, because ADOS If you using ADOS in anything you do, what up, fam? I love you, Trey X. If you using ADOS in anything you do, you're on a list. If you've been flagged even once by Facebook, you're now on a list. You're going to make your pages private. You know, don't be jumping up and down over there. Yes, indeed, Cynthia Adayowe. I'm sorry if I botched that. Yes, 80.5 million. Look it up. This is the thing he left out of his speech to the Congress. He wasn't talking about how much money he's entitled them with. Protections and money for what? Their COVID relief. Now, first of all, how come you don't have money to fight COVID when your median income nationwide is 87,000 to our 41,000? So you have the best of healthcare. You don't need 80.5 million to go towards your COVID relief. They got domestic violence apparently, and to fight anti-Asian racist sentiment. That's what Biden did for them, as they can consistently tell us they don't have money for our reparations. But Biden gave the Indians another 30.2 billion with a B. Okay, so the Senate can pass easily, 94-1, to protect the Asians, while we have anti-lynch bill for 100 years that can't get passed in the Senate. So they're showing you what the priorities are, and they're showing you the plans for us. And we're in the fight of our lives, as the movement has been trying to sound the alarm to everybody that will listen, that we are on the road to becoming fourth-class citizens with lower and lower numbers. I mean, we've gone from 41 million to like 37 million. Look it up. Look it up. Okay, between the abortion clinics, the race soldiers, even black-on-black murder does contribute to it, but nobody wants to talk about how the Irish, before they became white and got resources, and the Italians, before they were made white and got resources, we also had a lot of black, Irish on Irish, Italian on Italian murders and crimes. They want to act like y'all talk about, like they want to give the race soldiers a pass for executing us because they've starved us of resources. They've neutralized us economically. And now you see what you've seen in all neighborhoods that have been neutralized economically. They don't even have the money to go over in white neighborhoods and start killing them the way they kill each other. They kill who they live amongst. Anywho, you want to make your pages private, and you want to vet every, what's up, Chad? You want to vet every friend, because it's a combination of things happening. They see that ADOS anywhere in your language. I mean, I just spoke with Shanna Kim, and she told me they got on her for a comment that she made on somebody's page and put her down for 24 hours. That's how it starts. You got to make sure you're impeccable with your comments. You got to speak in code. You've got to make your pages private, because the followers are of different backgrounds. And I believe that they were complaining because they were calling me homophobic. They were calling me not transgender, xenophobic. Everything I said, I say it with a punch. But I'm on my page thinking I'm okay. No. They came after my shows. They wiped everything out. So I lost 4,500 contacts. The only way I'm getting it back is people are finding me or asking people what happened. I tried to tag Angela in something and she doesn't show up anymore. So just know that you've got to take these steps to protect yourselves before you get disabled. Oh, you also need to make someone an admin, someone you love and trust, an admin. So if they disable you, the person that you've made the admin, can reach out to your people and notify them of what's happened. I thank everybody in the movement that has spread the word and gotten the word out. I'm going to take a breath so Chris can speak.
Angela, I was wondering what happened to you. And that's why I was like, we got to find Angela, because you were gone, like completely gone. And then I saw this new friend request, and I'm like, I had to send you a text. I'm like, Angela, is this you? And yeah, so we are being silenced, and I've decided that I'm no longer going to be on Facebook with these live broadcasts. Between the algorithms and the censoring, we're not being seen and heard. My reach has changed tremendously. I don't get the traction that I used to get, and I'm real clear that we're having conversations that are very uncomfortable, but we're not lying. If you're telling the truth, however, people, so many people are offended. So good morning, Chris. Thank you for joining.
Good morning,
I miss y'all so much. I promise you, I miss y'all so much. COVID has turned everything around, and then we're in this season where, like I say, our Black voices are being silenced. So, Chris, what's been going on? Where you been?
Everything. I've been everywhere. Everything is going on. Obviously, a lot. By the way, I love your shirt. By the way, I want to say that.
Thank you.
I love that shirt. That's what's up. I need that. I need one of those.
Oh my God.
I need one of those.
Yeah, so this is actually our we have two shirts for the HB 541 here in Georgia, and I'll explain that bill in just a little while. But tell us, Chris, because last we heard was the 3121, I believe. Am I getting that number right?
The task force, right. The task force. So the AB 3121 is the former name of the state bill here in. Yes, he chatted in the chat. The former state bill here in California to create a task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans, with a particular focus on African Americans who descend from persons enslaved in the United States, right? Those people who are on your shirt, right? So the task force was approved and passed into law last year. Starts in today's May 1st. So it starts in 30 days, 30 whole days. And so we're super excited here in California. We're obviously gearing up. We've been doing a lot of gearing up around this and for this since the bill passed last October. So that's been a lot of our focus over the last definitely several months, but particularly over the last several weeks. It's really been getting geared up and focused on what is coming with this task force. And we see, we've always been public about this part, where we've always said that, we want to be involved in this process at every stage we can, right? So that includes the stage where with actual proposals, being discussed and created, and, data being looked at and studied, and all this like work that's going to happen. We want to be a part of it, from start to finish. So that's been the focus for us. Obviously, that's statewide stuff. We've obviously got a big focus nationally also, right, with respect to the federal bill, the federal reparations efforts, right? The only two pieces of federal legislation right now that exist with respect to reparations, right? HR 40 and its twin companion S40, right? And I think we want to say one thing, because you have reparations on your shirt, right? So I think we want to say one thing and acknowledge one thing. In the last 2 weeks, and I've been saying this everywhere I can say it, in the last 2 weeks, the 2 or 3 weeks, there has been more movement toward reparations than what's up, man? What's up, Mike? What's going on? I see you in the chat. There has been more movement. We are closer to reparations of some kind than we've been since the Civil War. And that is an actual fact. And I don't think we took a lot of time over the last few weeks to sort of put a circle around that. Whatever you feel, wherever you land on the bills themselves, whether you love HR 40, you hate it, you don't even know about it, whatever, right? There was never ever in our history until 2 weeks ago a vote on that bill, and it never left committee ever. Okay, and that changed 2 weeks ago. and it's never been on the floor of the House of Representatives. That's going to change sometime this year, most likely. So whether you love the bills, whether you love what's in them, whether you hate them, whether you think we shouldn't study anything, we just give us the money, whether you think we need to study every last dime and count every last penny before we do all of that, right? We are close. The reparation legislation hasn't been this far in Congress since the Civil War. And that's true. And it's this generation, right? It's what I call the reparations generation, really. That includes all of us. And includes all of you in the chat, too, or those of you who are watching right now.
Shout out.
Yeah, let's say we were all, stopped today, which is never not going to happen, right? But the ball is moved forward for the people who come after us to pick it up and take it forward. That happened, it culminated 2 weeks ago, but it's really the effect of all of our work. So I do want to acknowledge that and acknowledge you all. Tamara, you've been a huge part of this. From day one. Yes, we found each other, doing Black business.
You found me, Chris. Be real. I didn't know who you were. You said, "Come on here, I got something for you."
I did reach out, because a lot of our work has been prior to our reparations, fighting. Right, a lot of our work was around organizing Black business owners and Black entrepreneurs. Right, that's how you and I connected first. Right, because of our long work, long and continuing work to support Black business owners, where we live, right? But you've been a huge part of this work, Angela. Same for you. You've been a megastar, and a huge part of this work, right? Yeah, and everyone in the chat, everyone who's gonna watch this later, right? We do want to take at least some time to recognize what we've accomplished already, knowing that we have a lot to do.
That part.
This is gonna be,
too, Chad.
Chad, right. Yeah, and Chad, we're gonna talk to Chad.
Chad is a silent lethal weapon.
Yeah, is a secret weapon, and man, there's so many people, right? There's so many people, but again, we're saying this, just to acknowledge what we've done, but obviously we have, we will achieve this goal of reparations in our lifetime. So we have to keep this ball moving forward, so that's what I've been up to. I've been focused, both on the state level of reparations fights, the federal level stuff. We've also got some local initiatives around, how our local towns and cities and stuff can support the federal fight for reparations. Two, we've obviously been doing a lot of organizing on the ground here in Northern California, and also throughout California too. Obviously supporting other folks in other places where there are reparations efforts happening, right? That includes what you've got going on, down there in Georgia. Obviously, other parts of the country are doing similar things. So my focus really has been on reparations. That's all I've been doing. I've been living, sleeping, eating it, and it is really good to see, like, what we've already accomplished, like I said, but also what we can look forward to accomplishing next. So let me stop there.
Yeah, I'm excited. So Georgia introduced HB 541, which is our claim to getting reparations here in the state of Georgia. So it's a phenomenal piece of legislation, creates a commission. We modeled it after what we've seen around the country with reparations. It was modeled after that. Creates a commission, but the difference with this one, because Georgia is not a blue state, they want to believe that because Biden was elected here, but hell, we don't really know. We don't know if that, was it voter suppression, voter fraud, the jury's still out on what's happening here in Georgia. I think it's bigger than what you're seeing in the media. I know it is, when they're trying to make you think it's the voter suppression. We got some manipulation with our voting machines. Democrats ain't right, Republicans ain't wrong, and vice versa. So they in this game together, y'all.
Yes,
Georgia
they
is,
are.
yeah, and Georgia is not a blue state. I'm real clear. We're real clear about that. So this bill is unique, HB 541, in that it lends itself to Republicans taking the lead in the conversation. And I think that, we as descendants of slaves, we've been, trying to organize and get our people to understand, but we also have to reach across and have conversations in these white spaces with these conservatives, with these Republicans, so they can understand why this is important and why this will work for them too. And I've been trying to hone in on some of my talking points in that area. But before I get to that, I'm gonna come back to the bill. So it creates a commission of 11. Of the 11, 7 of them will be appointed by Republican leadership. Of that 7, 3 of them will be appointed by the governor. And one of those persons that the governor appoints, he will make that person the chairperson of the actual commission. So, it really puts the ball in the hands of Republicans. And here in Georgia, we have to have that conversation. We're not going to get nothing done if we don't engage with conservatives and Republicans here in Georgia and make it make sense to them. So going back to my talking points, I always talk to them, and I've been talking to them more and more. And just to give you, this ain't no new conversation for me. In 2016, when I ran for the Georgia State Senate, I actually knocked on this white man's door, and he had a Trump sign in his yard. By the time I was done with him, he put my sign next to his Trump sign. So I know there's a way to have this conversation. We just have to talk dollars and cents. Republicans are not in their emotions. They don't have the, morally, they don't feel obligated to do anything for us. I'm not going to try to have that conversation with them. I talk dollars and cents. Let's talk about how this is going to stimulate the economy. Let's talk about how this will lower your tax burden. Let's talk about the reallocation of these tax dollars, and the elimination of some of these social programs. Let's just talk dollars and cents to Republicans. That's all they really want to hear. So let's have that conversation and make it make sense. So that is the plan here in Georgia. That's the strategy. Of course, we are still pushing Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff to sign on to S40, which neither of them have done. I do watch him very closely. For those that don't know, 2022, this race has to be run again. He is not out of the water. So 2022, he has to run again. Thus far, he does not have a Democratic challenge, but he does have a Republican challenger, a black man who is a pastor. So, let's.
Wow, the Republicans ran his evil twins. I guess.
Yeah. So thus far, he does have a Republican challenger. So let's, I don't know. Like I said, he doesn't have a Democratic challenger. We shall see.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to. I did want to make one point about the Republicans on this. So, I think one thing, I have my problem with the with the way the Biden administration has, treated Black folks, since he's been elected, right? But one thing I think they've done right in terms of their strategic sort of approach to getting stuff done without Republicans in Congress voting for it or supporting it in large measure. But so what they've done is they said, listen, there's a difference between the Republicans in the Congress and the Republican people, right? Like people who are Republicans, right? And so you may be able to talk to people who are Republicans, right? And win them over. It's a different thing, for the Republicans in Congress, but your focus really should be, and their focus, they say, should be on the actual people, right? And so the conversation that you're talking about, when you were running and you had the conversation with the Republican, or how, this particular bill does empower both sides here, really, right? That there is an actual Republican presence, that's specifically called for. One that's different from a lot of what we've seen across the country, and a lot of what we've seen, obviously nationally too, right? There really hasn't been an explicit effort to include the Republican Party, or at least Republican or conservative voices, right, in this, right? And that's let's keep it real. In those those very now famous markups that happened a couple of weeks ago, right? The Republican Party has been at least in Congress, has been pretty hostile, right? I mean, they've been, they've been pretty hostile to even talking about this, right? And that was true a couple weeks ago. It was true, last year when a couple years ago, during the last hearings. So, right during the hearings in 2019. So I can understand why people could be like, well, it's not even worth it, or why. But that's, if we're going to get good legislation passed, I think it's in our interest to work to try to include as many constructive voices as possible, no matter what their party is. And I do think there is a difference between talking to Republican people versus talking to the Republicans in Congress. But I like how the point I want to make is that I like how you've centered this as a part of as a necessary part of the conversation.
Yeah, Georgia doesn't, like, nothing is going to get done here. Like, we have a trifecta, the governor, the House, the Senate, they control it, and they will probably control it in 2022. I don't foresee a whole lot of change here in Georgia. So we have to engage with our Republican leadership. And the beauty of that is, check this out. 2022 is a governor's race. Now, Brian Kemp is our current governor. He has an opportunity now to speak to this bill. He has not. His Republican challenger, Candace Taylor, I've had her on the broadcast. She's been talking about this bill. She's invited me into spaces to talk about this amongst other Republicans. So Brian Kemp, if you don't want to talk about it, your Republican challenger, she'll talk about it. She understands it. She's listening. We'll take that. So here's where we take it even a bit further. So say we get to the elections next year. Stacey Abrams is slated to run again. All right. Stacey, are you going to talk about reparations? Because I've never heard her part her lips to talk about reparations. So you cannot go into the 2022 governor's race here in Georgia and not talk about this bill, because we're going to push this from the ground up and we're going to force the conversation. You're going to talk about this. Now, Brian Kemp and his Republicans over there, y'all could, when we get to 2022, this is going to be a conversation on the table, because this bill is alive here in Georgia.
Yeah, so one thing, and we do want to make the point, right, that obviously, right, we do have to be, and we've been, I think, for the most part, where we've been involved, we've been as responsible as possible, right, with respect to these local and these local efforts, right, because we are ultimately focused on the federal fight, right, and when these local efforts are done correctly, right, I think what they can do, they have the potential to do. There's a tremendous amount of risk associated with these local efforts, right? Let's just be clear and be honest about that, right? There's risk, and there's.
We can't hear you, Chris.
Sorry, yeah, I hit I pulled my cord out. So there's some potential here, though, right? In addition to the risk, there's some potential, and one of the potentials is that
we didn't hear the risk. Go back.
Yeah. So right. So in terms of the risk, right? Let's just talk about what's risky about these local efforts. One is that you get something like you see in, for example, Evanston, right? Where what you have is a trial run, I think, and when trust me, we're learning a lot from Evanston, right? We can learn a lot from it, right? And, somebody had to go first, right? So and we're learning a lot about what not to do and how to do things differently, right? But there's that risk, right? That you get something that is less than adequate, to the situation, right? Also, there's risk that in addition to getting something that less than what you need, that you give people who don't want to do reparations an excuse not to do it at the federal level, right? And give them the argument to say, hey, let the states handle it, let your local area handle it. If you want reparations from your city, go get it, right? And that's a problem because we know that the federal government is the culpable party. First of all, right? That's one of our principles, and second, that is the only party that can afford what we're talking about, right? We're talking big monies, right? So there's all that to consider in terms of risk, right? But there's some good benefits to consider too, all right? And those include, one, if they're done right, they can be a way to focus attention and focus and force local candidates and local office holders and local politicians, your local government, statewide and locally, to actually focus and on the topic of reparations, right? To turn their attention towards it. That's one benefit. And then secondly, there's another benefit that's related to that, which is if they're done right, you can use these local efforts and these state efforts to focus attention on the federal government. One of the things we're working on here in Sacramento, to be honest with you, I can't speak all about it yet because it's still being worked on. But one of the things we're working on is an effort to get our local government to support the federal fight for reparations, right? And to say that with its words, and also to put some action behind that, right? Our particular city, right? That's one way in which these local efforts can help push the federal fight, right? Because that's where we ultimately want to keep our attention and our energy for all those reasons listed. But you're absolutely right, though, to talk about leveraging this bill as a way to force your local candidates, right? And to actually, let's think about let's think about some of the objectives here, right? Organizing objectives, right? Because what we want is more people supporting reparations first. Secondly, we want more politicians to actually support reparations before and during their time in office, right? We don't have enough politicians, at all levels really, that support reparations. We don't have enough people in general, let alone enough politicians. So that's another way in which your local bills can be used as a tool if they're done right? But to be done right means a lot, right? The language has to be right. You have to have the right kind of political power to influence the bill. You have to have the right kind of relationships, right? You have to be building all that stuff. You have to be working. It takes time. So if they're done right, they can be a help, I think. If they're done not right, then we have potential for trouble.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this, and then Angela, I want you to jump in. So here's the thing: in 2022, by pushing Stacey Abrams to talk about it, the thing is with her is she's going to run for, more than likely going to run for governor, but she has an opportunity, quote unquote, to run for president one day. So you can do this right now, Stacey Abrams, or you can wait till later and it's going to hurt you more.
Yeah.
Angela.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, Angela, jump on in. Yeah.
Angela, unmute.
Oh,
we were some back feed, so I muted you for a second.
Oh, okay, no problem. I just think that we're in this is a real dire situation we're in right now. And yes, although I do believe we have to keep our eye focused on reparations, know that that's a marathon and not a sprint. We have to be realistic, and we have to understand that all the other groups are getting the bag right now because they're putting pressure on the state right now to deliver them. And you have to understand what this government is doing. Since Barack Obama in 2014, the New America Plan is all about replacing the ADOX vote with immigrants and refugees. You have to understand what's happening. I know you're mortified by the money I just cited, but I share with Chris and CJEC, the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, how Biden is spending around $141 million per week because the goal is to bring in 26,000 migrant children per month. understand they are really setting the stage now that they've neutralized us economically to neutralize that vote. And it's because of what Chad just mentioned, and it just blew my hair back, but it makes sense to me that Facebook, which I call Racebook, is the federal. That's the FBI. The I is the only thing that's missing. And so that's why you see not just us, but the new Black media at large. They are coming for our jugulars. I too am now only on YouTube. But Biden is spending a ton of money down here in Long Beach. They made our convention center a safe haven for migrant children. Now, why is that? Because they have created the problems. Democrats and Republicans alike create the problems abroad and then want our vote to be the solution. But now that everyone is seeing that 87% of our electorate just showed up and voted for the Biden-Harris administration, and now I want to scratch their heads as to why we're being left out in the first 100 days, in the next 100 days. The goal is to keep us out for the next 12 years until we're totally neutralized. And so we have to be like white folks, okay? We can't afford to just have a tunnel, one-track mind. That's not our privilege. That's not our luxury. We have also got to be working on economic recovery acts, some immediate relief. As this man sits up here and gives these Asians with a median national income. We ain't even talking about wealth. Wealth is like $500,000 to our 200 or 1,700 nationally. Come on now. He chooses to give them $80.5 million for their COVID relief while we're dying disproportionately from COVID relief, protections while we're dying disproportionately from government sanctioned executions and Black on Black crime and murder because of institutional systemic racism. And you've got not just Uncle Tim Scott on the Republican side to say there's no racism in this country, all the while espousing how he was discriminated against. And then you've got Kamala the Chameleon, and you've got segregationist Jim Crow sloppy Joe Biden sitting up here telling you that racism is no longer an issue in this country. You've got to use your third eye, family. I know that this country and the mainstream media tends to put that to sleep on purpose. You've got to tune that out and understand this new America plan is designed to finish us. We're not in it. So they love that we're distracted, and they love talking about how much they support an HR 40 bill with cashless reparations. So I'm not saying take our eye off of that, but we need something immediate to hold these people's feet to the fire right now, because they can play this out like they've been playing this out since Martin, since they executed Martin because he was coming for that check. So there are designs to ethically cleanse us out. How in the world do you give Asians protection when 68% of their assaults are verbal? They are not being executed by the race soldiers, less than 1%. I told you they had 5 or 6 executed down in Georgia. I told you 181 Black people have been executed since George Floyd. That's because, and they already know this, as they sit up here and shoot down measures to protect us from the race soldiers, that the FBI in 2016 gave you an investigative report from 2006 that the KKK, the neo-Nazis, and the skinheads have they've been hired purposely because the police departments say to not hire them because they associate with these hate groups, which should be deemed domestic terrorists, while they call me a Black identity extremist for fighting for social and economic justice for ADOX. They said to not hire them because of their associations with these domestic terrorist hate groups would be an impediment to their First Amendment rights. So You're going to protect the First Amendment rights of domestic terrorists to join the police force and put them in our communities that have been neutralized economically so we can't fight back, and just open season on us over giving an executive order for our protections the way you've done the Asians 94-1 in the Senate. That's what they've done, because their right to execute us is prioritized over our lives mattering. TRP stands for the reparationist perspective. I'm going to take a breath, but you better understand that you need to get to fighting locally and on the state level as you fight for reparations. The roof is, the whole house is on fire. We're on fire. We're at George Floyd, 9 minutes and 29 seconds to the neck. That's how little racism matters in this country.
Yeah, that was powerful. Tamara, if I could jump in real quick to piggyback on some of that. So let's talk about what the point is here, right? Which is to think about what can you do, what's possible, what are things you might want to do, to build Black folks back to a better place, right? Than before the coronavirus, right? What can you do locally and at your state level, and also what should be the national demands of Black people outside of the reparations fight, right? So the reparations is obviously one big thing, right? But there's other things to be focused on too. Right, that's absolutely the case, and I like the idea, and this has been a part of the conversation for at least about a year now, right? But I like the idea around working to focus a lot of the federal monies and federal legislation that's being done now. Biden just announced a new what was it? That's a $2.1 trillion plan when he talked to Congress earlier this week. He's already pushing on his infrastructure package, right? His infrastructure bill, right? So that's another 1.8 trillion. I think they just passed obviously the recovery stimulus bill early on. I think it was about 2 trillion ish, right? So there are all these big pieces of federal legislation happen, and then your states right now are also doing big legislation. In most of our states right now, or many of our states right now, it's budget season. It's budget time. I mean, it's money time. Okay, so now is the time, right? Here in California, we're in it. Or we're just coming out of it. Here in the city of Sacramento, we're going right into this is about budget time now ish, right? So this is when we talk about money, right? This is when we talk about resources, right? This is when we talk about what our government can do, right? And what we can mobilize and organize our government to do. And so there are absolutely things that you can be focused on locally, right? One of the things that I really like that we're doing here in Sacramento and in California, we have a particular problem that Angela knows, about, which is called Prop 209, and it is a huge barrier, right? And we had a proposition last year called Prop 16 that would have, allowed our government to focus, resources on a particular group of people by, race and ethnicity. But one of the things I think you can do locally, right? Just to focus on some concrete stuff here is, so for example, here in the city of Sacramento, I'm proud to be a supporter of the effort around participatory budgeting, right? So I'm not sure if you're familiar with participatory budgeting, but it's when your city gives the local neighborhood a certain amount of the money to decide how to spend in the neighborhood. Okay, so your local city council people get money for their right, and your city gets money. Well, the city of Sacramento approved $225,000 just in the last few months, really, for this participatory budgeting program, where actual citizens, us, get to decide how to use that city budget money. Okay. Fighting for a program like that is worth it. That is a very structural local change at the very local level, right? But it gives you power, but it gives you power over the dollars in your community, right? That is something that I think is absolutely worthwhile fighting for, right? To be honest with you, there are some other things you could be fighting for too. For example, most of our cities right now are not collecting the right kind of data on who lives in the city. Particularly, it doesn't even know how many Black folks who descend from U.S. slavery exist in its own boundaries, right? Well, that can change, right? You know, that's something that can change, and that we can work to make change. And what that does is it sets up an opportunity to drive even more resources to those particular communities, right? So there are things that we can be working on at the local level. I just gave one or two examples. Obviously, at the state level, you can do those kind of things on a larger scale, right? And then at the national level, right? Too. I completely agree with Angela, though, in terms of the need for specific focused policy and programs and benefits for Black Americans, particularly Black Americans who descend from U.S. slavery, right? That's absolutely that's something that this is why we were saying, don't just give this guy your vote, right? Don't just give this guy your vote. Don't just do that without getting something in return before you give him what he wants, right? Like, this is exactly why, and to be honest with you, a lot of the people, and people have been saying this on Twitter, a lot of the people who were talking that, vote blue no matter who, just vote for Joe, and just, shut up. If you weren't voting for Biden, you were a Trump lover. That's what, the sort of, propaganda was, even though we didn't vote for either Biden or Trump, right? But a lot of those people are very quiet right now. You don't hear them, right? And yeah. To me, it's almost it's a form of selling out. To me, right? You sold your people to a political party and then you disappeared, right? And I know you got something for doing all that, selling, right? And this is a big issue, and there are going to be implications for this in 2022 and 2024 if the Democratic Party thinks that it's going to ignore us for 2021, and then in 2022 start talking about Black issues because it's right before the election, okay, which is probably what they think they're going to do. They have another thing coming, all right, and if the Biden administration thinks it can wait until his last year, in office, third or fourth year in office, to say, okay, now we're gonna. I mean, like if you look, it looks like they're deprioritizing Black issues. Right? It's not even like they're like, it's not like they're staying the same. It's like, oh, we were gonna do a police commission, right? Actually, we're not gonna do a police commission, right? We're gonna wait for Congress to do something. Are you serious? Right? Like, are you serious? That to me said that you want this to die. You want this issue to die, because are you going to get, or what are you going to get from Congress that's going to be good for Black folks with respect to police killings and police, terrorism, right? What are you going to get from a Senate, right? So are you going to remove qualified immunity, with that Senate? Are you probably not, right? Or whatever you get is going to be a lot weaker than what you could have got if you went through, your own sort of power on this. That's only one place in which the executive, can act. Angela was right that there are a lot of acts and not acts, excuse me, act is a particular thing, but a lot of executive orders that are, being made that are particularly targeted to specific groups of people who are not us, right? That's absolutely true. There are specific things that the Biden administration knows it can do, particularly targeted toward us, and has refused to do them. If you think back to that famous, leaked call that happened early on in the year, when Joe Biden was basically telling us, listen, I got you again. Yeah, I ain't gonna do nothing for you. All right, I ain't gonna do nothing for you, but show you the door, and the foot, and you better like it. You better like when I treat you like this. Because the other person is so bad, right? So. Right, and in that conversation, if you remember, Cheryl Knifel from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund was like, "Listen, here's what you can do. You can do this, that, there." He's like, "Listen, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not doing nothing. I got what I needed. And this is a problem, right? And let me say one last thing. There's a big gap here that we're not talking about, right? We're supposed to have some sort of congressional leadership, like in representation for Black folks. Right, like they're supposed to be organized, organizations of congressional people, right, to actually like stand in the gap and say, hey, all right, it's not that we want to take, like, I don't want to. I'm gonna speak for myself here. I don't want to take away the money that the Asian people got. I don't want to take their money away. You got yours, good, get yours. The Latinos, y'all getting money, good, get yours. Get everybody get yours, right? But we got to get ours, okay? Everybody can't be getting theirs, and then we don't get nothing, right? We got to get ours too, right? And so I think the winning arguments around this, sound like, hey, Asian folks, y'all have an issue. I'm not Asian. I'm not, I can't put myself in your shoes. I want to empathize with you. But whatever you feel like you want to do for your people, do that for your people, right? I respect people fighting for their people, no matter what, right? But watch me do it too, right? Right. And don't be surprised when I bring up the example of what's being done for all these other groups when I'm in negotiations for what's mine, right? Right. If that's what they getting, then you got to multiply that by 100 with us, right? Or if they getting 50, we got to get 100, right? Because of our contribution here, right? But again, this last point is we're supposed to have, like, we're saying these things right now, like us, but they're supposed to be people, either from the CBC or from other, some sort of Black representation, Black political power, right? Black political power. Where is it, right? That is saying the things that Angela's saying to the Biden administration directly, right? Like, we're on the outside here, right? We're just regular people, right? There are people whose job this is, like, to make those exact same points and say, hey, yo, like, Black folks got to get something, or else you in trouble. So let me stop there. But this is something that we're gonna have to continue to talk about.
Angela.
Okay, I was mute. Oh, Chris said so much. Oh my God. I'm trying to keep up with all my talking points in my head. First of all, understand that as the way of California goes, so goes the nation. Out here, you can't even get a job unless you can't even get an interview unless you're bilingual. Understand that that's coming for you as they let in all these immigrants and refugees for problems that they created abroad. Just like they create the problems here and they want our vote. Okay. That's happening, which means we can't get employment. We can't get employment down here. If you don't speak Spanish, and even when you do, you don't have the complexion for the protection. You don't have any social capital at these hiring tables. And if we are this complexion at the hiring table, we're only there to be the gatekeeper of white inferiority, okay, in corporate America. That's number one. Number two, Yvette Carnell absolutely had the right idea with a Democratic down ballot strategy. But she was missing one key component. And that is that a trifecta of either party is the death knell for American descendants of chattel slavery. Understand that you're dealing with two wings of the same oligarch bird. And capitalism requires an anchor. They require a bottom caste, and they decided long ago, because of the color of our skin, to make ADOX that anchor. And that means they're willing to put all these other groups over top of us in terms of median income, in terms of wealth. And that is absolutely what is happening. And so for me, she missed the mark when she said just go out here and vote Democratic down ballot. We absolutely need to vote. We cannot afford to not vote for neither party. But what we can do is what Dr. Charles Morris, pastor of Abyssinian Church, recommended when we delivered Teddy Roosevelt the vote, the White House, and he turned around and dishonorably discharged 167 Buffalo soldiers who were wrongfully accused of murdering a second white man after having been quarantined in their barracks from being wrongfully accused of murdering the first. Dr. Charles Morris said, "You shot us when our guns were empty." Now, this is when we were Republicans. So he said, in exchange, we're going to offer the same FU. We're going to vote blue at the top of that ticket and a red Congress to protect the Black South. I am imploring upon us to stop delivering these Democrats. They have seen since FDR that we are willing to vote for them while not demanding tangibles. 87% of our electorate showed up for the author of the 94 crime bill. They were duped into believing that replacing a racist in office for 4 years was more sound to replace them with racist in office combined 65 years. One for 4 years with no records against American descendants of chattel slavery, didn't do nothing for us, but didn't do things like the author of the 94 crime bill did to harm us, as compared to racist in office combined 65 years, okay, with records against ADOX, several New York City blocks long. Case in point, Kamala was fourth in her own presidential race out in this piece, okay? You guys, if you didn't do the research, first of all, you did what the mainstream media influenced upon you to do, the 87% that voted for this. What I hate that I did not do and will be doing henceforth is voting red at the top of that ticket with a blue Congress to protect the over 53% of ADOCs who rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism. We've got one more election cycle, maybe, because they're moving and ushering in these immigrants and these refugees. Right now, Hispanics outnumber us by about 20 million. They're at 60 million to our 41 million, something like that. Okay? And that's including Black immigrants. And so it won't be long as they continue to set them up with all kind of goodies before they can turn the Latina conservative into Latina Democrats. That's what they're working for. That's the vote they're going after. And Asians are next up. Asians are worth more than white folks. And that's why white folks stormed that Capitol. So at least if we had Trump at the top of the ticket and a blue Congress, we could slow this fast-moving Titanic down until we can replace the lanes with full-chested cash reparationists like Miss Tamara Johnson-Shealy. This is what we need to do, because the vote is the only commodity we've got left. We have no money. We've got incomes, but we have no wealth. And the income is so little. I told you the national median income for us is $41,000, to white folks $65,000, to Asians $87,000. Now, what is the median national home price, family? $340,000. And you had 8 Democrats tell you no to $15 minimum wage. We are the highest in every category. Highest unemployed, highest underemployed, highest numbers of homelessness, highest numbers redlined into environmentally racist communities. I had to make 6 figures a year to qualify for this house, this condo in Southern California. I'm not doing that now. I'm not earning that now after a pandemic. Understand that under Barack Obama, 1 million white millionaires were created, while over 50% of American descendants of chattel slavery lost the only wealth they had to transfer to their children, their homes. We are at George Floyd 929. I am begging upon you to weaponize the vote and socialize this suffering, because as you see, a trifecta of the Democrats puts everybody back to sleep. That's what's happening. You don't hear nothing. Because, like Chris mentioned, the Black Boule, who are really, let me tell you, there are 2 ways to be white in this country. You pay for access to whiteness or your complexion, and then the government decides to make you white. Why is that? Because their numbers are dying out and they want to keep power. And the way to keep power is to create whiteness of groups who share in their same complexion somewhat. And that means forever, perpetually keeping you as the anchor of their capitalism. While they sit up here, Nina Turner included, used to love her. She sit up here texting my phone for donations. And you want to sit up here and say you're for a study. We know what that means. They can drag this out. And to Chris's point, Biden knows he's got the power of the executive pen in the same way Barack Obama had the power of the executive pen. Instead of protecting Black lives, Obama protected blue lives. He protected blue lives. It's called the Blue Lives Act or something. Blue law, something, blue alert law. I can't recall the name. Look it up. He gave them protections over making our Black lives matter. But he showed could sing Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, after 9 of our ADOCs were executed by that race civilian soldier, Dylan Roof. He came down to the funeral and sang lovely, didn't he? Oh yeah, I had everybody all passing out and carrying on. Y'all better wake up and y'all better sound the alarm, because our entire group, American descendants of chattel slavery, is on the chopping block. And there is an urgency that I'm speaking with on every show. Check me out at the Reparationist Perspective, YouTube only, and Twitter right now. Until I can do something else, that's where I am. I will only paste these over in Facebook on a new channel, that a new page I established. The only way to get access to me is to Gmail me at Friends of ADOS TV. You're not going to become a friend on that page unless I send for you or you come for me. And I have to vet you, because I don't put no private information over there no more. Get all your private stuff up off of there. All your private photos up off of there. Because if it's true what Chad said, the FBI is building a profile on each and every one of us. Know this and get your personal stuff up off of there and go by different names in the whole 9. Get ADOS up out of there. I love y'all. Black is strong. I'm going to let you close out the show, Tamara.
Ooh, wee. I knew it was going to be fire. I knew it. My West Coast family always brings the heat.
Early in the morning before breakfast.
Because it is early over there. It's noon here. I just want to say, I am, this is definitely a calling on our lives. This is not something that we do because, I don't think any of us chose this. I know that we were chosen. So I just want to thank my West Coast family, Chris and Angela. We've been doing this because this is an assignment, and we are being obedient to the assignment on our lives. I encourage everybody to support Angela. Please follow her on YouTube. Let's make sure her voice is not continued to be silenced. Follow me, spread the word. I am not going anywhere. right? Reparations, the descendants of United States chattel slaves. We ain't going nowhere. We are here. This is the country we built, like Angela always said, with our lives. We're not going anywhere. So I love you guys. I thank you for joining me today. Let's not be strangers, please. I told you before when this broadcast opened, I truly miss y'all, because I'm gonna tell you, this gets hard. This gets heavy. This is a lot of work. And sometimes, it takes us to really stay connected. So I don't want y'all to be gone too long. Please come back to the broadcast. Let's stay connected. And then I know we're going to stay in the fight, y'all. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Angela, tell everybody where your channel is again.
The Reparationist Perspective YouTube. I come on Monday through Thursdays with your midday wake-up call, and then back at 6 p.m. with your anti-Black racism report. And it's not just the executions, it's all of it, family. So please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. And if you want to be a privilege to my new, what is the word? ADOX rigged Facebook space, you need to Gmail me at Friends of ADOS TV. That's what I was born as. So I still have the Gmail account. I changed to the Reparationist Perspective, but Friends of ADOS TV is what Tamara Johnson Sheely helped me to give birth to. And I'll never, ever, ever forget you for it, sister. It is speaking, and I'm going to let you go, but speaking to what you said, God called on me when he birthed me through a Panther father, okay? He called on me, and I ran like the Dickens because I couldn't get no employment. And I was arguing with a boomer about whose fight this really is. He told me that the militancy is for the youth. No, thank you, my love. No, the militancy is not for the youth. When I was in my 20s trying to get a job in corporate America, I knew if I did not put my father's Panther roots down, I would never get gainful employment. If I didn't straighten my hair and put on the King's English without the soul of Nirvana, that I'm freely able to do because I have found my tribe, I would have never gotten employment. I would have never gotten what I've got to this day. So no, our youth has got to walk a straight line. It's time for those Gen Xers who've got properties and are established to be the voice so that we can have a future, so that our babies and our grandbabies and our great-grandbabies can have those reparations to continue to build on to become their own economy. So yes, I had to answer the call. When did I answer the call? When institutional systemic racism came from my $120,000 a year job at Wells Fargo Bank. When they replaced ADOX with immigrants and then set those immigrants up to rob from the customers for the shareholders' bottom line, then fired 5,500 of them, okay, and gave John Stump, the CEO, a $143 million golden parachute. You see, so when it comes for you, then you will stop running from the call. And God has been my protection. I'm working at a fraction of what I once did, and God is keeping everything on its axis. You understand me? That God in me, that's in you, as the face of God, the voice of God, the body temple of the spirit of the living God, is sustaining Angela Nirvana as I fight for the people. Because let me help you with something. Your blessings are not just for you to go somewhere and lay down and luxuriate. Mm-hmm. That's not just for you. To whom much is given, much is required. And if you don't answer the call, you too will get reasons to have to get into this fight. Okay? I love y'all Black. I love y'all strong. Thank you so much, Tamara. You know we'll be talking.
Yes. Chris, thank you, brother, for joining us. I don't know how you follow Angela, but
I don't.
I don't either. I don't either. All right, family. I love you. See you back here next week, y'all. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. You can find me at my website, tamarashealy.com. I give voice to issues, activists, and activism. Please support this broadcast. Go to the website, tamaraforgeorgia.com. You can cash app the Tamara for Georgia. Y'all, this is how we stay in the fight. Thank you, y'all. Have a great week. See you back here next week, next Saturday, same time, right here on YouTube. Have a great week, everybody.